Today's video is all about feminizing makeup on deeper skin tones, so if you want to see Mimi go from this to this, then stay tuned and I'll show you exactly how to unleash your inner femme. Okay, my lovely wow gals, so every makeup starts with good skin prep, which is why I'm lavishing Mimi's skin with CeraVe Hydrating Moisturizer and then taking a small amount of the Bioma eye gel just to help create a really hydrated canvas. And all those products are going to sink in and just be really beautiful and supple and hydrated by the time we come to applying her base. Now, talking of bases, we're going to start with her eyes first, and I'm going to apply a P. Louise eye base in the shade 5, I think it was, all across her eyelids. This is going to act as a glue, like a primer for all the powder eyeshadows that I apply over the top. It'll make them much longer lasting and more intense. You can see that I've carved out underneath her eyebrows, patted that product down, and I'm just about to start blending it out with a darker shade of the product. That's just going to make sure that it blends into the skin seamlessly and there's no rough edges anywhere. It's super important to make sure all the edges are blended into the skin so that the foundation can marry in with the eyeshadow perfectly and that the product is not wet or sticky on the skin. You want to make sure you pat it out thoroughly so that your eyeshadows apply seamlessly. Then we're going to start building up some definition and shape and lift with a dark brown eyeshadow. It's kind of like a warm brown I'm using. I believe it was from one of the Juvia's Place palettes. And literally stamping this on and creating this like V on the outer corner. You can see how I'm applying some small tension in the outer corner of her eyes as well to lift the brow. That just helps me get a better placement. I've now switched to a fluffier brush and using Dark Deep Mineralized Skin Finish from MAC as a blending medium. I'm almost just like tickling the edges of her eyes with this and then just continuing to build up that colour. Literally all I used was 2 shades for the eyeshadow. I used the Dark Deep Mineralized Skin Finish and that colour, which I can't remember the name of, from the Juvia's Place palette, and I just went back and forth and built up some structure in the eyeshadow. It's very important when feminizing the eyes to create a lifted look, and by blending your eyeshadows up and out, it's going to help you to achieve that. To further reinforce that, I'm going to use a brown NYX pencil on the outer corners, and I'm going to really intensely pack this on. I say intensely, I don't mean hard. Just mean like I'm going to really pack it on the outer corner and then buff that same pencil out with a flat brush. That'll create this like lifted, sculpted look to her eyes with almost like a beautiful soft buttery blend. Just doing the same on the other side here as well, and then repeating my process. That pencil will act as a glue now for powder eyeshadow. So when I press a darker brown powder eyeshadow over the top like I'm doing here, it's going to be much more intense and I can create a soft chocolatey wing on Mimi's eyes and then just blend it out with a nice fluffy brush. On the lid, we're going to apply an Urban Decay eyeshadow in the colour Solstice, and that's going to give us this really beautiful, cool gold sparkle, which against the warmth of Mimi's skin just really pops out. And then on top of that, I'm using a Peaches and Cream pigment called Prin, which just adds extra glitz and glamour and sparkle. Personally, I'm kind of over a cut crease, so I like that the eyelid here looks quite soft. I think it really helps to reinforce femininity in a makeup look by not having any like sharp lines anywhere and just keeping everything very soft and flowy. Talking of sharp lines, I'm going to do my eyeliner here using the Inglot gel liner in the number 77, which is the only gel liner you ever need to buy. But I don't want it to look really sharp, so I am blending out the edges and just creating like an intensity in the lash line. If you're going to do anything on the lash line, it needs to be the color you intend it to be. So if it's going to be black, go black. If it's going to be brown, go brown. Make sure that it's intense. I kind of don't believe in the whole ick thing, but if I was to have any makeup icks, it would be wishy-washy lash lines. So girls, get it on there and don't be shy. Get your Inglot gel liners. Moving on to skin, and this is where this whole look is going to really come to life, and I'm going in with moisturizer here again, and as you can see, Mimi is loving every second of it, really pushing the moisture into her skin. I always like to give people a little face massage whenever I do this because it's a nice little treat for people. And as you can see, she is loving it. Using the same moisturizer as before, but it's just a good opportunity to pop some on now before foundation so that anything that sank in beforehand will just be reinforced. Moving on to foundation, I used Holly Boone's Luminous Soft Focus Foundation, and I've used 2 colours when doing Mimi's face. On medium to deeper skin tones, you tend to find that people are a little bit lighter through the centre of the face and deeper around the perimeters of the face. And if you do just use one shade, it can tend to look a bit flat. So I've used a lighter colour in the centre and then a slightly warmer, slightly deeper colour around the perimeter of your face. You can see it's not like a huge difference, and we're about to go in shortly and contour anyway, so it's going to bring more definition back. But I also loved using that warmer colour around her jaw area and on the neck because it helped to eliminate any 5 o'clock shadow. And you can see there's literally no need for me to colour correct in this makeup. I put nothing on beforehand. You'll see a lot of people using orange underneath the foundation. I didn't need to because that foundation already has that warmth in it. After applying foundation with a brush, I always like to pounce over everything with a beauty sponge just to make sure that the product is really pushed into the skin. Moving on to contouring, we're using the Made by Mitchell Curve case and starting with the colour Arituation, which is the darkest in the deep palette. And I'm using this to sculpt shape in her face. So obviously, Mimi has an incredible bone structure with some more stereotypically masculine features. So I'm using this dark colour to help push them back. For example, on the jawline, the darker colour, we're just placing it there to help minimise it, push those cheekbones out and minimise the size of her forehead as well. She's chatting away to me here. So again, you can see the placement of the dark colour a little bit better here. And I like to place the colour on, and I really like the curve cases because they are so creamy and you can like wallop the colour on. And then you'll see shortly with my sponge, I kind of blend everything out. Now when I'm doing the nose, I'm so clumsy with this. I just draw a brown stripe down the nose. And then you'll see now I'm using my sponge to blend all the edges out, make that much smoother so it doesn't look really prominent. And I'm going to apply my blusher next. Another Made by Mitchell product. This is his blush in Cherry Cola, which is so versatile and so gorgeous on so many different skin tones. I wear this. Obviously, I've put this on Mimi, and I just think anyone really can get away with Cherry Cola. It just depends on how much you use it. I am applying a lot more on her, and it shows up a lot more subtle, whereas on me, I have to use a very, very sparing amount. That is the great thing about working with deeper skin, is that you can kind of apply a lot more colour and get away with it. You're going to start to see everything come together a little bit more now when we're going with our concealer, and I'm using the same brand of concealer, the Holly Boone Cosmetics. Now, I won't lie to you, this is a mixture of about 3 colours. I can't remember the 3 colours, and I put a tiny little bit of like an orangey blusher in it as well because I wanted it to be really peachy. And you can see when I'm putting it under Mimi's eyes here, it's really warm, so it's going to knock any darkness from underneath her eyes out. And it's not going to look ashy in the slightest. And that is key when working on deeper skin, is to make sure that everything you're using is the right tone and it's not going to look ashy. Now, I want you to notice how high I've taken that concealer up the side of her nose. Oh, cough, cough. And I'm about to take the concealer down the center of her nose here as well. And that is basically just helping me to snatch the nose in. And I'm going to start blending this out really gorgeously now, making sure everything's seamless. And I always blend out my concealer with a sponge, nice damp sponge, to make sure that everything blends smoothly and seamlessly. When blending out the nose, I change from a sponge to a fluffy, dry, fluffy brush. And I basically just tease that brush up and down because I don't want to disturb the shape that I've created with my contour. Then we move on to a really crucial part of the under eye makeup, and that is using a sponge to make sure you've pressed out any fine lines, anything, and it's all really, really gorgeously blended in. And then we set it. Now, the powder that I used was the Huda Beauty powder in Peach Pie, which is a gorgeous colour for brightening and setting underneath the eyes on a medium to deep skin tone. And then once I've applied it, I'm going over the top with a heavier layer to kind of bake everything. And I'm just going underneath her cheekbone as well, just to make everything pop. Once I've used those powders, I'm dusting over the whole face with a lighter amount of the same powder, just to make sure that I'm taking that excess shine away from everywhere. As you see, the more I kind of like dust this brush around, it's becoming less like wet and more just a small glow. And then we're going to start applying powder, bronzer and blusher. I used a teeny amount of powder, blusher and bronzer from the Curve Case Pressed product from Made by Mitchell, and I really like them. I basically just used the same colours that I used on the skin with cream, but the powder version, which is actually one of the really nice things about the pressed version, is that you have like the same colours, so you can just go back over with the powders to reinforce everything. But you'll see I've not done like a really crazy powder bronzer or anything. I kind of just let the creams do their work. And then I used an eyeshadow as a highlighter because I realised that I couldn't find a highlighter in my kit that was the right tone. So I actually just used an eyeshadow and I thought it looked really nice. And then taking the same brown pencil that we used on the lid, right through the waterline, just to create a bit of smoke and a bit of definition on Mimi's waterline. If you do your eyes before foundation, you might find that everything starts getting a bit dusty. So like I said earlier, if you want your blacks to be black and your browns to be browns, you have to go back over them. So that's just what I'm about to do now. Just reinforce my black gel liner by topping it up, and then lashings of mascara, and we're going to go into the brows as well. The brows were really simple because she already had gorgeous brows, so I basically was just making them pop back out again using one of the NYX brow pencils in Espresso. I love these, the little micro pencil. I've used them since they came out basically, and I'm obsessed. Lashes, these are Primer Lash Savage. I use them on everybody. I absolutely adore them. I think they're gorgeous, feminizing, and they just give a nice lift to the outer corner of the eyes, as you can see. Look, fab. And then we're going to go onto the lips using a really gorgeous chocolate brown liner. I think it's Morphe Date Night that I've used here. Just lining the lips with that. And then, oh, looking, just taking a little second there, Mimi, to admire yourself, are you, love? And filling the lips in with a MAC lipstick called Verve. And then one of my Maybelline lifter glosses over the top. I think this is Topaz was the colour. But they're all gorgeous, to be honest with you. And then I let her have a look, the finished makeup.
Speechless. I'm truly gagged. Way less dramatic than I would usually paint my face. But I feel so much more pretty like this. Do you know what I mean?
That's cute. I like that. Yeah. That's what we're going for. And just like that, my lovelies, we have the final look. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you love how gorgeous and fabulous Mimi looks. Please leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I'll be back here very soon with more content. Much love to you all.